Hello and welcome back to Outside the System with your boy, Mr. Nobody. If this is your first time at the Story Forge, let me explain it to you. I rework public domain or maybe one day probably open source characters to fit into the world that me and you are making. But today is a little different. I'm going over some more world building aspects, nothing too crazy, just briefly. But as you can see by the title, this one is about Dorothy Gale from the original Wizard of Oz. Without further ado, let's just get into the video. So, before we get started on our reimagining, we gotta know what we're working with. So, let's look at the source material. But some special this time. I said but like 3 times. That's crazy. It's like I'm getting The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, The Mouse King, and the Nutcracker, and Winnie the Pooh. Probably like, why? For my breakdown of Dorothy Gale, are we going over 3 other stories? Shush. Wait, just be patient. Uh, First is L. Frank Grimm's Oz. A young girl, Dorothy Gale, is swept away from her Kansas farm by a cyclone, whoosh, 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 to a magical land, and she wants to get home, and she does so by following a yellow brick road to a Emerald City, befriending a scarecrow that wants a brain, a tin man that wants a heart, and a cowardly lion that wants courage. They face a wicked witch and discover the wizard is a fraud. You're a fraud, Spider-Man. And the core of the journey is like friendship and seeking, and what you're seeking is already inside you. Yeah, and there's just cool color-coded regions. Now we have next Lucius Carroll's Wonderland. A girl named Alice follows a white rabbit down a rabbit hole into a world that is really illogical. And I mean, and when she first gets there, she changes in size and becomes like a whole. She goes from being small to being big after like eating a cake, where she meets characters like the Cheshire Cat and the Mad Hatter, and ultimately uh gets threatened by the evil queen. But then she is like, I want to go home. I want to go home, and she teleports back home, and it's just all a dream. No, it wasn't real. And it's this is more so about identity and the nature of authority with the Queen of Hearts, and that leads us into our next one, E.T.A. Hoffman's The Nutcracker. On Christmas Eve, a girl named Kara, that Kara, yes, receives a Nutcracker doll. That night, she witnesses a battle between her toys and a army of mice led by a seven-headed mouse king, the Aura. The Nutcracker comes to life, and after Kara helps him, he takes her to the magical kingdom of dolls. It's a it's a story that has a very weird line between dream and reality, but I think that's like a theme that carries over between most of these stories. It centers on a battle against a more so like an invading force versus like a kingdom that like you like almost. And finally we have Miller's Mill. Oh my goodness. Winnie the Pooh. This is a collection of stories about a boy, Christopher Robin, and his stuffed animals who come to life in the 100 Acres Woods. that conflicts are small and personal, more like daily life stuff, more not as fantastical as the other ones. Like either the one is a tale. It's like the core is just a calm feeling of friendship and a nice and quiet adventure, I would say. So, what are the themes that go into these stories that we need to know for our reimagining? Now that we know where everything we got came from and what we can use that's in the public domain, let's look at the themes. So for Oz and Dorothy, one of the core themes I think is the seeking of one's home, whether that be an actual home or just where your heart lays. Friendship, the discovery of friendship is what helped Dorothy even get to the place she needed to be to find out how to get home. Uh, a little bit of self-discovery, I would say, like finding yourself in a adverse situation. There's also, oh my goodness, so there's also just the importance of home in general, which I which I wanted to say before I got to that long pause. And now we go for Alice in Wonderland, and not just Alice in general. The nature of the adult world. If you were to ask me, like the world that Alice goes to is a play on the world that we live in, but as adults, and how that's kind of like antithetical to logic or just normal society to children, I would say. And it's and how confusing it is to grow up. Also, there's a play on how there's a disconnect in communication between like two groups of people, between Alice and the people that live in Wonderland. And it's kind of like I can't understand the way people live. Like if I went to a foreign country, for example. And also, just a common theme between these is the nature of the reality that you live in, and also is just like how real that reality is when it comes to like dreams and stuff, which is a common theme. I mean, like in the Wizard of Oz movie and Alice in the Wonderland, also in the Mouse King and the Nutcracker, they all wake up from it, or for Christopher Robin, it's just all his imagination. So it's kind of like where is the reality of the situation. For the Mouse King and the Nutcracker, the struggle between good and evil, because it's pretty subjective who's good and who's bad in this story. Like the Mouse King is bad, the bad guy, and the Nutcracker is the good guy. More so innocence, more so than other ones, but it's a theme that's rather in them. Just the innocence of our main character, love. That's like her love for like the Nutcracker. I'm pretty sure they eventually get married. Don't quote me. Haven't watched really any of the movies. I haven't read the whole thing, so don't catch me up in a lie. It's like, and not to judge people by their appearances is also an important one. For the last one, Winnie the Pooh is more just the fate. I think just an overall theme that connects to this story is like the fading of the past, and just like kind of like sad thoughts, like melancholy thoughts about it. Friendship. Also, we already went over that one for another story. Loyalty, kindness, and just more of a importance in like simple things, I think, which is which you can find in Winnie the Pooh. So now that we've gone over the history and the themes, we can finally get to the reimagining of the story. So here's my take on the story of Dorothy Gale for my universe. So our protagonist, Dorothy Gale, grows up in a in Kansas with her mom and dad. But as she's growing up, it's just like her drunken uncle uh appears to her family and they get into like a confrontation over money. It's like the uncle is in need of money so he can continue his unruly habits, and he proceeds to kill, not on purpose. At least I wouldn't know. I mean, I wouldn't know. It's like at least not on purpose, and he ends up killing the father, which is his brother, and he sees the wife, and he kind of goes, I have to kill her too now that she saw me do it. And Dorothy kind of like represses these memories of this event, so she doesn't exactly remember. But after that, the police can't find out who did it, and it's like, I mean, it's very rural where they're at, in particular in Kansas, and yeah, they can't exactly find out who did it, and he gets away with it, and because he's her closest living relative, uh, he takes her in. Well, he's a very abusive to the young girl, meaning he really didn't want her to begin with, but he does get some money, like for supporting the child, given their lack of income. It's like this traumatic upbringing for Dorothy, uh, because it leads to her developing dissociative identity disorder as a coping mechanism for her strenuous circumstances. Uh, one day, a cyclone begins like near where they live at, and her parents, I met her aunt and uncle are out right now, and she's home alone, and she sees a white rabbit in a suit, like all dressed up, checking his watch, and she sees it outside, and it's with her dog Toto. She like runs after it because she wants to get it somewhere safe. While she runs, just like she falls into a rabbit hole, like chasing after him with Toto, and they end up in another universe because the rabbit hole was actually a wormhole all along. Holy moly. She falls and she falls and she falls and she lands on the ground in this type of village, really. And as she lands with Toto, she sees her house land on a woman. This on a woman, and this shocks her to a degree. It almost reminds her of the death of her parents with all the blood and just all the like how gruesome it is. And this triggers her to switch with another one of her alters, and that would be Alice. Well, Alice being a bit tougher, I would say, in a lot of aspects, really isn't phased by this event and proceeds to loot the body of the dead person as the cat people the local cat people are very grateful for for her killing the tyrant that was taking over their land forcefully, right? Al is not caring much for the gratitude of these honestly strange creatures. Uh, proceeds to look inside the house because she doesn't know if the aunt and uncle were home. Given that she wasn't fronting at the time, she checks, sees no one, and is a little disappointed, hoping they probably would have been injured in the event or hopefully even dead. But as it's like, and the items she grabbed, I forgot to mention, were some silver shoes from the body, from the presumed corpse of the witch. But as she's goes inside and looks inside the house, it begins to shake and rumble, and it starts to break even more as the witch blasts the part of the house that was on top of her away. Turns out she was still alive, You can't kill a witch that easily, I suppose. She goes inside the house. For no, first she asks the cat people who dared to attack her. Obviously not wanting to anger her anymore. The sell out Alice, which is real fake for real. You're just so grateful to me before. But she walks into the house and sees Alice and starts like force choking her is the best way I can describe it. But why it's like Alice like barely like reaching into her pocket like beams like a toy that she had at her head. Uh catching the already injured witch off guard, she like stumbles backwards. Dunk, 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 dunk. And this gives obviously this gives Alice an advantage and she grabs a kitchen knife and she runs at her. This is why she's disoriented and managed to stab her in the stomach. But even that, already injured, isn't enough to get her down. And she blasts Alice away and she taunts the child. I'm gonna make this as painful as possible. It's like and she gets a ball of energy in her hand, preparing it to blast at the child. But because of the silver shoes that she took from the witch prior, the attack bounces back as like at the witch, which absolutely stuns her as she realizes they're no longer on her feet. Alice taking this opportunity, just like grabs the knife, take the knife off the ground, and stabs her repeatedly, killing the witch for good. Obviously, this is a bit rough for any child to be in a situation like this, but when you've grown up in a very intense and brutal life before going into a mystical world, you're a bit more prepared, I would say. So she deals with that, and now that the witch is dead, Alice still it's like Alice and make sure everything is like tip top, like there's no more like innate dangers, and she ends up the switching with Kara. Kara so Kara the more analytical and observative, perceptive of the group. Make sure to investigate everything she can. She talks to the cat people to make sure that they're on the up and up as she learns everything she can about the new world that they're in now. Kara does not miss a single opportunity. She takes nothing at face value. And as she is investigating, she does this for about a day, just to be as sure as possible. And after that day, news of the death of one of the three weird sisters gets out to like the public, and people know that she's died. And this hits the ears of the newest witch of the North, and that like really like gets to her. She's like, one of the three sisters are dead. So she rules the North Country and she acts like immediately. She goes to where Kara is and she says, "Good job for killing. Good job for killing that evil witch. I'm very grateful. Honestly, you're a hero, Kara. You've done a justice to all these people. Kara never, as I said before, does not take anything as face value. Interrogates this like unknown like foreign leader And she was like, why would you go out of your way to tell me this when this could probably cause trouble with you in some type of foreign affairs type scenario in which the northern ruler um does not immediately break her facade, but eventually under continuous questioning, it's like lets her real thoughts slip. She's like, you currently have a bounty on your head. You've killed one of the three weird sisters, the ruler of the eastern region. That is paramount to committing just like a coup d'etat against a great ruler. Like this is like horse for almost rebellion. It's like, and given that you're now a rebel figure, whether you like it or not, it's like, but also you're not even from this world, which any like magical person can tell from just from looking at her. And she says, I need you to kill the other witches. Well, I'm not sure how successful you would be, but I need you to try. Just stir up a little bit of trouble, and then you'll be all right. It's like you just do that for me. Obviously, Kara does this. I'm not no like hitman or like somebody that like kills for hire. And then the Northern Witch, it's like replies with maybe I'll just have to kill you. If I can't find value in what you can do for me, why would I keep you alive? Why not I get in the good graces of my enemies by killing you? In which Kara, knowing that she really has no rebuttal to this, promptly agrees to the prior proposal. Um, so and that's it's like the witch is grateful. It's like but the witch says, you probably want to go home, do you not? So, as upfront payment for your work for me, I'll tell you a bit of information. The great King of Oz, the wizard, the sorcerer king, if you were to encounter him, then maybe with his magic abilities would he be able to send you back to your world, which Kara takes immediate note of. But Glinda being hard on time as a ruler and not being able to let information of her conspiring with a known criminal get out, she promptly leaves before telling her any more information, only telling her that she has to head west to find the wizard, and also just like and to cause as much trouble as possible. Kara isn't exactly good with the wilderness or just being a really outdoorsy person in general, which as you're going through the wilderness of an unknown world with magical creatures is a bit of a detriment to you. So she switches with Christopher. And Christopher happens to have a way with animals and is very good with them. Christopher takes the lead, and this is where the journey really starts for them with Dorothy still inside of their psyche, dealing with the traumaticness of the prior situation that they were in. So that's the start of this story. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to hit that like button. If you have anything you'd like to tell me about this, any criticism or how much you liked it, go ahead in the comments down below. And if you want to see this universe continue growing, make sure to follow me or whatever and get ready for the next story for it. Keep creating, and I'll see you next.